What's up, everybody? You know what this is. This is the RO Sports Show brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. I am your host, Matt Harrelson. To my right, our Ross regulars, Jeremy McKenzie and Russell Parker. So, Richmond Raiders are coming off of a bye 2 weeks ago. Of course, Hurricane Florence knocked them out for playing Purnell Sweat. They're going to be facing Pinecrest this week. So, since we didn't have a game last week, we figured we'd skip that for this week and come back and give you all your Raider updates and recaps from the Patriot-Raider game. So, with that being said, let's move into college football as we are steadily moving throughout the regular season. Yeah.
Richmond or Pinecrest is going to win?
Richmond.
Richmond.
Yeah.
Richmond.
Even on the road. Even on the road. Yeah. Just real quick. I just think Richmond's got the better squad. I think Pinecrest is rebuilding, and I spell victory for Richmond. So.
Go Raiders.
So let's take a look at last week's picks, and we all did pretty well. We got, I think everybody got them all right, except for I think you picked Oregon to beat Stanford, but that was, game literally could have gone either way there at the very end.
Very close.
So let's start, we had Notre Dame, Wake Forest, which we all expected Notre Dame to be able to handle Wake Forest, and they did. That one wasn't even close. So, we're going to get into our picks for next week, but Stanford going to Notre Dame next week. So was this kind of a test for Notre Dame, or did it just kind of blowing Wake Forest off?
I don't think that was really much of anything more than like a scrimmage game for Notre Dame. I mean, Wake Forest did put some points up on them, but it wasn't going to be enough to defeat the Irish. So I think Notre Dame was, they're ready.
Yeah, you think they're gearing up for Stanford next week?
Yes, sir. I think this was a game where it was pretty much I always tell people it's like when Richmond played Pinecrest, like a practice that count, because that's all it is. Because Wake Forest, got a solid quarterback, but I see that it was too much for Notre Dame would not have you, and that just geared them up getting ready for the Stanford.
Yeah, and then so moving on, Texas A&M and Bama. So we all figured Bama would win. I keep saying I'm going to pick Bama until they lose, as long as they're on our list of games here.
Roll Tide.
So this same A&M team basically took Clemson to the wire at A&M, though. I do want to throw that out there. And then like I mentioned, this A&M team goes to Bama. This one wasn't even close.
Even I was a little surprised by that. I actually figured this game would be a lot more closer. I actually believe prior to the season starting that this would be one of their toughest games of the season.
Yeah.
And they may look like it was any other team to play so far this year. So it surprised me. I think Saban has figured out a way to make the offense work the way he wants it to. Defense is looking good too. So, I know he kind of blasted the media recently about talking too good. But if you're playing good, we're going to talk good.
Yeah, and speaking of Saban, afterwards, look, he's always going to find something to critique his players because you always, you don't want them to think they can't always be getting better.
Mm-hmm.
But talk about Saban for a minute, Jeremy, about how he's able to do this. I mean, it's one of the things that makes him one of the best coaches in college football history.
I think this is one I always tell people all the time. Coach Saban is a genius. And the way he pretty much put his players at a standard where you pretty much like the saying goes, practice makes perfect. Mm-hmm. So anytime he goes, the player come play game after game, he sees where he wants perfection, regardless on special teams, defense, and offense. And I think it's paid off dividends for this program.
Yeah,
he expects to bring the best out.
Yeah, obviously it is paying dividends because, as of right now, Bama doesn't look like they're coming off that top perch anytime soon, especially the way they're playing. And real quick, before we move on to the next game, Bama's usually known for not putting up a ton of points. Usually they just pound you with the rock and then play good defense. But, a lot of games they've been putting up 40, 50 points, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of that goes to the quarterback.
Yeah. I guess putting Tua in there was the right call after all.
Yeah.
So. Moving on, big Pac-12 matchup, Stanford versus Oregon. And as we mentioned, you and I both took Stanford, but you had Oregon. But, again, this one could have gone either way. It went down to the wire. Matter of fact, did it go into overtime? I can't remember.
I don't know. I know. It was. I think it was like 7 points difference.
Oh yeah, it was definitely a touchdown difference, but it was a touchdown that was scored at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
So Stanford obviously has moved all the way up to number 7 with that victory. But still, even though it was a loss, did Oregon show you that they can hang with some of these big boys?
I believe so.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Especially when you got that quarterback that they got.
Justin Herbert.
Yeah, Justin Herbert. He's obviously a very talented quarterback, and end of the year maybe in the Heisman talk. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But Yeah, so moving on, Kansas State, West Virginia. You know, I keep thinking that Kansas State is going to win one of these big games. However, I did pick the Mountaineers, as did the rest of us, and they took care of business on Saturday.
Yeah, West Virginia's got a great team this year.
And a great quarterback.
Yeah.
He could win the Heisman.
Yeah, very well could. And, you know, speaking of putting up points, they're one of those teams that's going to put up, they can put 50, 60 points up on you in a hurry without even trying. And then a big matchup as far as the SEC East. Don't know if it's going to have any ramifications moving forward. It could, at least for Florida. But Florida versus Tennessee, we all picked the Gators, and they were victorious as well.
I think it'll be some ramifications for Tennessee. They got to get their act together. If they don't, something else is going to get changed.
Yeah.
Of course, it's too early for that because they just got a new head coach who has to build a recruiting class. So I think they're going to have to give him at least 2 more years to work something out.
Try to rebuild.
That's what I was going to say. I think all of the guys there are mostly Butch Jones's guys. And but Jeremy Pruitt, obviously a Nick Saban guy. Do you think eventually he'll be able to turn it around for the Volunteers?
I think so. I mean, look at what
Kirby
Smart has done.
Yeah. That's 2 different people, though. 2 different schools, 2 different recruiting classes. You know, just because you're from Saban's coaching tree doesn't always mean you're going to be a top-notch coach when you go somewhere else.
Yeah.
It helps, obviously. But, you know, I think a lot of it is the fact that Tennessee still looks back at the glory days when Philip Fulmer was there, like they're coming back around the corner, and they may eventually. But I feel like every year we see this. There's so much hype around Tennessee because everyone expects them, and they should be good at football, and then they disappoint everybody.
Yeah. Now they're kind of going to more to the basketball side of things.
Yeah.
It's just SEC. Yeah. No, nobody really thinks of the SEC like that other than Kentucky. So.
Yeah. So, anyway, so let's take a look at our locked-in picks for this week. So I'll just start with mine. I had LSU over Louisiana Tech. That one wasn't close. And then, Jeremy, you had Clemson over Georgia Tech. That one wasn't close. And then, Russell, you had Ohio State over Tulane, and that one absolutely wasn't close. So we all made good picks on that and picked up 2 points apiece. And then finally, our upsets alert went the other way. None of us got those right. I thought that Iowa would be able to upset Wisconsin. I thought Wisconsin, coming off of that loss 2 weeks ago, rather, would they may be in a spiral. That didn't happen. The Badgers were able to pull that one out. And then Jeremy, you had Charlotte over UMass. I actually watched just a little bit of this one, and UMass is, I don't know if they're good or Charlotte's bad, but UMass actually handled them pretty well. And then, Russell, you had Georgia Tech over Clemson.
I did. I believe that one of these games is going to play around with Clemson. I thought this could be it, but obviously it wasn't. So they'll have a bad luck game here somewhere.
Yeah, and that's kind of a sneak peek to our picks for next week. But where do we sit points-wise right now on the season?
Well,
oh,
obviously,
Lord, here we go.
Obviously, I'm still the current reigning defending champion right now.
Defending?
I'm defending from last week.
I was about to say, for
it's like a week-by-week thing, man.
Well, I'm still leading in points, and you guys are just below me by 2 points, though, so you're not too far away. Jeremy, Matt caught up with you by 1, so,
I told you last week this is when I start my comeback. So
yeah.
Well, so here we go. So I continue my comeback in this week's game. So let's start off and take a look at these guys. So the first one on the board, we got West Virginia up again this week, coming in at number 12. They are headed to Lubbock, Texas, to take on the number 25 Texas Tech Red Raiders. So he got.
I'm gonna go West Virginia. We said earlier, they definitely know how to play. They got a great team. I'm gonna go with them.
All right.
I believe this is going to be a situation where the quarterback from West Virginia is going to come in and put up some good numbers and put up at least about 40, 50 points.
The over-under on this game has to be like 100, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's going to be no defense played in this. This is going to be one of those games where the final score is like 55-49. I really believe that. But I've got the Mountaineers because of Will Grier, their quarterback, who I think is just one of, if not the most talented college football quarterback.
And you mentioned the offense. The Big 12 has always been like that with offense.
Always. None of them play defense, but they can all throw it around and put up massive points. But Texas Tech, another one of those teams that doesn't play defense worth a flip, but can also put up 50 points in a hurry, and always has and probably always will. Yeah. It's just kind of a system that they run. But we're all three taking the Mountaineers on the road. So I want to throw that out there. Now, moving forward, perhaps one of the biggest matchups this weekend, but perhaps the biggest, is number 4, Ohio State, traveling to Penn State, number 9 coming in at Beaver Stadium.
And that's where Urban Meyer make his return from suspension.
Yes, he does. And not a moment too soon, because this might be a make or break already for the playoffs, right? But who you got?
I'm going to have to go with Penn State on this one. I think going into that stadium, I think it's the biggest stadium in college football in terms of attendance.
It's one of them, if not the biggest.
Yeah, so I can't see them not winning this game. I mean, Ohio State's a great team. I just feel like Penn State's kind of on this level here that they can get things done. So,
all right, who you got?
I got Ohio State. This is going to be a game where Urban Meyer makes his return, and that's going to give the players some motivation to go out there and take care of business at the end of the game. Ohio State gets the victory.
When Urban Meyer was suspended, I said it won't matter. When he comes back, they'll be 3-0. That's where they currently sit. I think when they finish this game, they're going to be 4-0 going into Penn State. So the reason I say this is Dwayne Haskins, their quarterback, is really good. There's been no drop-off from last year. They've also got a sophomore running back by the name of J.K. Dobbins, who is phenomenal and is going to be a future superstar on Sundays. I do want to say this. 2 years ago, these two teams played in Penn State, and Penn State beat them at the final buzzer. I mean, it was like a last-second field goal. And Ohio State still got into the college football playoffs. So perhaps there is a chance that Penn State could win this game and still miss out on the playoffs because the CFP just loves the Buckeyes for some reason.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I picked them to be one of my Final Four teams when it's all said and done. Also the reason why I'm taking them to win on Saturday. Moving forward, the second biggest matchup this weekend, Stanford heading to Notre Dame. And Notre Dame's had a really tough schedule this year, but so far so good. Who you got, Russell?
Well, I'm going to go with Stanford on this one because I think that this is actually going to be a team that's going to find their way maybe in the fourth seed of the playoffs if they keep it up like the way they are. I think they got most of their big games early in the season, so late season probably won't be that big of a deal. And playoff committee might look back at that and say, okay, they're in, but only at number 4. So I think Stanford can get the job done here at Notre Dame.
All right, who you got?
I got Stanford because this is going to be a scenario where I can see where Stanford going to play good defense and the running game is going to be effective. And I think Stanford's going to take care of business with Notre Dame.
Well, looking at the board here, I am going the opposite of y'all. I'm taking Notre Dame at home. I think they're going to continue the strong season that they're having. I don't have any particular reason. I just think right now both of these teams are really good. I would imagine this is going to come down to a field goal, and I think playing at home gives you that field goal 3-point advantage. That's why I'm taking Notre Dame. Although you know who's hoping that Stanford wins this game is the Pac-12. Because right now Stanford is their best shot at getting into the CFP. Even though Washington hasn't lost within their conference, they still have that loss over Auburn hanging over their head. So obviously the Pac-12 doesn't want to be left out in the cold again, and they would like for Stanford to win this game because obviously whoever wins this is going to get bumped up big time, I would think, right?
In rank, yes.
Yeah. All right, moving forward. So speaking of the Pac-12, BYU, who's ranked number 20, is heading to Washington, number 11 this year, to take them on Saturday. So who you got?
I think BYU's got a great team, but I'm going to go with Washington on this. I think they're a tough team to beat.
Yeah. I wouldn't have thought that BYU would have made it up to 20, but you actually kind of foresaw their success because you picked them first week to upset Arizona, and they've won ever since. So who you got, Jeremy, BYU or Washington?
I got Washington.
All right, I'm taking Washington too. BYU's good luck runs out this weekend, I think. Washington's just one of those teams that also expects to be playing for a national championship.
They're like the Kentucky of the Pac-12 right now.
Who?
BYU.
Oh.
Because the Kentucky's undefeated right now themselves, but I don't think they're going any further than they are.
That's true, yeah. Poor Kentucky. And then finally, we've got a lot of Pac-12. I just realized that this week. But Oregon, who's coming in at number 19, really didn't drop that much after their loss to Stanford, being how close it was. But they are headed to California to take on the Cal Bears, who are coming in at number 24, which, by the way, does not make me feel so bad that they whipped my Tar Heels at the beginning of the season because now they're ranked. By the way, Tar Heels got a victory this weekend. Moving forward, who you got, Oregon or Cal?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with California on this one.
Okay.
Earlier this week I was thinking, I might go with Oregon, but I like California's chances here.
All right.
I'm going with Oregon because this is going to be a scenario where Justin Herbert is going to show out and show off what he can do with the offense. I think they're going to click, and I think this is going to be redemption for them taking that loss on last week. And I think they'll gain the victory against California.
I've got malfunction. I've got Oregon as well. I think last week Boston College made their way into the top 25, and they were number 23. And when you see teams do this, I do have a point to this. When you see teams do this, At that point, they can either continue to win and continue to climb, or they lose the next game and they're out of the top 25. I see the same thing happen in California this week. They have their 15 minutes of fame in the top 25, and they're gone. Locked in real quick. Who we got? I'm taking UCF, the Central Florida Knights, over Pitt. UCF ranked 13th right now, coming in to go play at their place, a Power 5 team, but I've got them beating Pitt. Who you got for locked in?
I've got Georgia over Tennessee. I think there's no doubt they're going to get that one done.
Yeah.
Even Auburn going to kick behind against Southern Miss.
All right, and I think so far we've all been doing really well on Locked In, which was the whole point of it.
Yeah.
Pick up an easy 2 points. Now, the ones that aren't...
If you lose one, you lose a point.
That's true. But the ones that aren't as easy is our upsets alert. So, Jeremy, let's start with you. Who you got for your upset this week?
Well, I got to redeem myself on this one. I got UNC Charlotte going to try to get a win over UAB.
All right.
I'm gonna. This is where I'm gonna say Clemson loses their game.
I thought
Syracuse over Clemson.
Yeah, and I mean, we keep thinking that eventually Clemson's going to lose one because perennially they have.
It's a trend.
Doesn't mean they're going to, though. And then I'm finally, I need to redeem myself, too, because I've been waiting for Kansas State to please upset somebody.
Yeah.
Once again this week, Kansas State to upset number 18, Texas. I just don't think Texas is as good as the credit they're getting. They got whipped by a Maryland team who's I just don't think is very good. They barely beat Tulsa the second week, and then they go in and beat TCU, and all of a sudden they're this great team. I just don't buy it. And then finally, our big men on campus. Who was your top performer this week?
I've got Trevor Lawrence from Clemson. He's now the starting quarterback. And I think freshman starting quarterback. That's a pretty big deal. So he's definitely talk of Clemson right now.
All right.
I'm going with defensive end Wyatt Ray from Boston College, and he leading the league in sacks with 5.5.
All right, and I'm taking a kid by the name of Blake LaRussa, who was the quarterback of Old Dominion. It was actually their backup, and if you guys were paying attention this weekend, Old Dominion pulled off probably the upset of the season so far when they beat, at the time, number 13, Virginia Tech.
Wow.
Which doesn't look good for the ACC, but
and they're going to
nonetheless.
play ECU this week.
Yeah, he was 30 for 49 for 495 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a rushing TD. So the kid had 5 touchdowns altogether in that victory, and he was a backup. Where's this kid been? Real quick before we go back to break, I do want to mention Bama, Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State all dominated this weekend. So obviously they're in the driver's seat right now. A lot of things are going to happen, but is that your top 4 teams in the country right now?
Right now, yeah, right now. Later on, I'm going to put LSU in there somewhere.
All right. Do you agree with this list, the top 4?
Yes.
I do want to mention here, number 5 would have been Oklahoma. They had to win in overtime against Army, so
yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
That makes me a little iffy on them. And of course, I did want to mention again, Tar Heels got a victory finally. So we got off the skid. It was Pitt, but who cares? A win is a win, and we're undefeated in conference. So na. However, we play Miami tonight, so that's probably done with.
And Duke's ranked too.
Yeah, that's right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, Duke 4-0. I never would have thought that was going to happen.
And Duke's good in basketball. Where they get into a football, do good in football. We'll never know.
Well, and the two will collide because Virginia Tech, as I was just talking about, is heading to Durham this weekend. I would imagine Virginia Tech's probably got chewed out over the week, and they're going to come back with a vengeance, and I would think beat Duke. But who knows, man? It's been kind of a wacky college football season so far. But that's going to do it for college football. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, going to hit the NFL gridiron. We got some picks from last week. Both the Skins and the Panthers got a victory. We'll talk about that and much more when we come back to the RO Sports Show. Hayden Construction has 2 new homes under construction at 2 distinct locations. 125 Crystal Court in Carolina Hills and on Robberdale School Road. Both feature incredible floor plans and distinct features inside and out. Hayden Construction, quality, value, and beauty. Call Jamie Smart at 910-331-5811 or Nicole Hayden at 910-995-0717 today to schedule an appointment. Exit Realty, making dreams a reality.
McNair Auto Sales is the place to buy your pre-owned car, truck, or van. To be the best, it takes big selection, friendly staff, and great pricing. We guarantee a no-hassle buying experience, and financing is available right on site. So come see us today. We're located at 1026 East Broad Avenue in Rockingham. And remember, with over 40 years of experience, you know McNair is the name you can trust.
At Richmond County Hospice, we strive to provide high-quality care to our patients and their families. Whether it's the incredible hospitality at the Haven House or from the comfort of your own home, you can count on hospice to be there for you. We also offer monthly grief support groups, and our chaplain will be there to hold your hand in prayer. Through our amazing staff and our volunteers, hospice has made difficult times easier for our community. Call the number on your screen if you feel that you or your loved one may benefit from our services. Richmond County Hospice. Peace, comfort, dignity.
Welcome back to the RO Sports Show, as always, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. Let's move from the college gridiron to the professional gridiron and talk some NFL, and it was a good week for our teams. Let's start with the Panthers, though. They were able to beat the Cincinnati Bengals, a decent team, 31-21. So how were the Panthers able to get victory?
Oh, man, I love to talk about this one. Was a game where the Panthers had to redeem themselves the loss against Atlanta. I've seen Christian McCaffrey probably had his first 100 rushing yard game in his career. Pretty much dominated with 28 carries of 184 yards. And also Cam Newton came out, did a good job with 150 passing yards with 2 touchdowns, rushed for 2 more touchdowns. But let's talk about the game, the 2 defensive players who made some impacts. Dante Action Jackson, who's continually being a ball hawk on defense, caught 2 picks on Sunday. And actually in the league in interceptions right now with 3. Even though Luke got a sack, and the guy from Nigeria, I can't pronounce his name, I'm sorry, y'all. He came with a good sack, a forced fumble, even got a pick. I think this is where Carolina is telling the NFL, you better watch out for us. Don't sleep on us because we're coming for you very soon.
So when the Panthers let Josh Norman walk away, I don't think they didn't know they were going to have Dante Jackson, but is he kind of a second coming, a clone of Josh Norman? He's a ball hawk, isn't he?
Yeah, I believe he is, because one of the things I had in the 3 games I had watched Dante Jackson is he's pretty much is already coming on his own. And one of the things I do love about his aggressiveness and his tackling skills, but also I love about his style of play where he just gets these big interceptions at the most crucial moments, and that plays dividends for the Panthers franchise. And I think I even made a statement a while back. Dante Jackson's going to be the steal of the draft in the second round, and it's already paying dividends.
There you go. And then, not to be outdone, the Panthers, or rather the Redskins, were able to beat the Packers this weekend, 31-17. Which actually, I think when we made the picks, I picked the Packers to beat us, simply because of Aaron Rodgers, but that simply wasn't the case. But you, Packers fan, Skins fan? I don't even know who you are anymore.
Okay, I'm going to still be a Packers fan after this loss. I like both teams, but I'm going to take the Packers anyways because I like their style of how they got their tradition and whatnot. So
what, Alabama players?
Not that. I mean, that's cool and all too, but the atmosphere that they got at Lambeau Field is awesome. So I like that.
All right.
And their colors are Raider colors too. So
technically, yeah. So Jeremy, you and I were talking before we came back that maybe perhaps that Alex Smith getting traded to the Skins and Kirk Cousins leaving and all that, Patrick Mahomes taking over for Kansas City, all that seemed to work out. Mm-hmm. Now, personally, I would still rather have Kirk Cousins because he's younger, as I was telling you, but Alex Smith is doing very well. He's had some good games. He hasn't turned it over a bunch. But talk about Adrian Peterson for a second. I mean, the guy, it seems like he just never stops, man.
And in the past 3 games, like Adrian Peterson, he just rejuvenated his career. I don't know what Washington did to him.
Yeah.
But
me neither, but I'm happy.
But I'm very happy that he's getting a second chance to redeem himself to be the future back of a franchise. Where this past Sunday, as he beat the Packers, he rushed for 120 yards on 2 touchdowns on 19 carries. And also, future Hall of Famer, he also passed Barry Sanders to be 7th on the all-time list.
Yeah. And, I mean, I would have thought that his career was done. I think he signed with the Cardinals last year or something, and he kind of
he signed with the Saints, and then as an insurance policy for Mark Ingram and to learn from, and also Alvin Kamara to learn from him. But that trade didn't really work out, so he ended up going to Arizona and pretty much got hurt down there. So he comes to Washington, redeems himself, and like I say, he's on fire right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I was just going to say, I would have thought at that point his career was over because, I mean, as a running back especially, there's just a point you hit where you just can't do it anymore. You just don't have the physicality of it too much. But here we are, Fountain of Youth. I don't know what it is, but Adrian Peterson right now, the run game, carrying the Redskins, and I am, of course, happy. And, of course, the game that we picked for our Game of the Week last week, big NFC South matchup. By the way, how tough is the NFC South right now? But we had Saints and Falcons, and the Saints ended up beating the Falcons 43-37 in overtime. The Falcons are the only team in there that's 1-2. The rest are 2-1. But that just goes to show you how deep this conference is. So it's obviously going to be a dogfight for the Panthers, for all of them, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I really don't. Unless Tampa Bay turns around after the loss to Pittsburgh on this past Monday night, I see this being a triple threat between Atlanta, New Orleans, or Carolina. But I always say, when it comes down to the wire in November, coming to December, I still say Carolina's going to clinch the division.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Might not agree, but I don't blame you. All right, guys. So real quick here, let's take a look at some matchups for this week. So the Panthers and the Redskins are actually on bye coming up,
Yes.
so we don't need to make picks on that. So I figured we'd replace that with a couple other games. Tonight at 8:20, the Vikings are heading to LA to play the Rams. Who you want to take?
I'm going to take the Rams.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Rams, too.
I'm going to take the Rams, too, simply because they are also on fire. They're playing at home, and the Vikings are coming off that butt whipping from Buffalo.
Yeah, I was like, when I looked at the game Sunday, as I was playing flip-flop, watching the game, and I kept looking at the score. Buffalo beating Minnesota like this, and Minnesota got the number 2 defense in the league right now.
And Kirk Cousins and Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs and all these weapons and Dalvin Cook and that one surprised me. But yeah, I think we're all going to take the Rams on that one. Sunday, 1 o'clock. This is actually a big matchup. The Dolphins are heading to New England to play the Patriots, and the reason this is a big matchup is the Dolphins right now are 3-0.
Yes.
The Patriots are 1-2. If right now the Pats are already 2 games behind Miami, if Miami goes into New England and beats them, the Pats are now 3 games out of first place, which even at this part of the juncture of the season, as early as it is, that's a big hole to climb out of, right? So
yeah.
you taking Fins or Pats?
I'm going on a limb. I'm still going to take a chance and go with Ryan Tannehill and the Dolphins.
All right.
I think this is where the Patriots turn themselves around and gets the victory.
Yeah, I keep thinking, talking about Adrian Peterson running out of gas, I keep thinking at some point this Patriots dynasty is going to have to end, right? It's got to. But I don't think it's this week. I think New England, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick put their heads together. They're going to figure it out. I'm not sold on the Dolphins. Ryan Tannehill's an okay quarterback. I don't know that he's like a world beater by any means, but I'm going to take the Pats on that one and hope that you're right because I want to see the Pats be done. And then finally, our third big matchup, Monday night, 8:15, Monday Night Football, Chiefs, Broncos. Who you taking?
I'm going Kansas City. Mahomes going to light it up again.
All right.
Yeah, I would like to say Chiefs, but I'm going to go Broncos on this one.
I got to take the Chiefs, too. Now, this is going to be a great matchup because the Broncos have a great defense. Chiefs have an awesome offense. Obviously, Mahomes is firing on all cylinders. But I'm gonna have to go with Mahomes and them. I mean, I predicted a big season for him, but I mean, at this point, he's playing at an MVP level, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm at all pro level.
Yeah. So next up, I want to do a quick game called Contender or Pretender. And I've got a list here of some teams, and I want you to tell me whether you think they're a contender right now or a pretender right now, even though we're early in the season. Tell me about the Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, contender or pretender?
Pretender.
Pretender.
Yeah, I think so too. Even though you're taking them to win this week. Kansas City Chiefs, contender or pretender?
Contender.
Contender.
Yeah, I mean, we just talked about how dominant they are. They might be the best team in the whole league right now.
Yeah.
LA Rams.
I'm going to say, on paper, contender.
Right.
Contender.
Well, right now they're undefeated. So, and one of just a couple of teams that are undefeated, I'm gonna say they're absolutely a contender. Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Are you serious right now?
Yeah, they're 2-1.
Pretender.
All right.
That doesn't sound too big to me, 2-1. I'm going to say pretender.
Well, 2-1's not bad. Fitzpatrick finally came back to earth as a quarterback, threw like 3 or 4 picks against the Steelers,
Yeah.
but they still only lost by 3 points.
Yeah, and Jameis Winston's going to come back. See how that going to play out.
Yeah, I say I'm just not a big Winston fan. But again, I'm gonna say pretender. I don't think the Bucs are gonna be able to hang with those other 3 teams in the South. Chicago Bears, though. Yeah, that's a tough one, isn't it?
Chicago, I'm going to say pretender because even though the Khalil Mack trade Khalil made that defense a lot better, but I still have questions on that offensive side of the ball.
Right.
Pretender, yeah.
I'm going to say pretender, too, even though right now the Bears are in first place. The Vikings are still going to be there. The Packers are still obviously going to be there. And I agree. As much as I'm a big Trubisky fan being a Tar Heel, right now he's still getting over that learning curve of playing in the NFL. But the defense, top notch.
Yeah.
Baltimore Ravens, contender or pretender?
I'm going to say contender because I think this is a scenario where Baltimore is up and coming, defense looking solid right now, and Joe Flacco is pretty much having a good having an all-pro career right now.
Yeah.
I'm going with contender.
I'm going to say pretender. I don't believe in Joe Flacco. I don't think he's really that good, especially since they gave him that money. The Ravens have always had a good defense, but always struggle on offense with their plan. I see them falling back, especially once the Steelers start getting things going. And who knows, the Browns may pick up a few games this year. Tennessee Titans, contender or pretender?
Pretender.
All right.
Definitely a pretender.
I'm going to say pretender too. Now, they're 2-1. They just beat the Jags, but they beat them 9-6. That was just an awful game. And finally, contender or pretender, Philadelphia Eagles.
I'm going to say contender.
Contender.
I
Super
agree.
Bowl champions,
Super Bowl
huh?
champion.
Yeah.
They are, but that doesn't always mean that you're going to be world beaters the next year either. But I think Carson Wentz just came back this week. That's going to pay dividends. So I see them up in their game.
How about the Browns?
Pretender.
Pretender.
Even with Baker.
Contender.
Even with Baker. And I think they have made perhaps maybe they finally got their quarterback, but we'll have to wait and see. And then finally, guys, one more quick game I want to play with you. This is called Push the Panic Button. So is it time for these teams to push the panic button, or should they relax and continue the season? New England Patriots, time to hit the button?
Panic.
All right.
Yeah, they're push up.
1 and 2, you better panic.
I'm going to say it's tough because I want to say it's time to push the panic button because of all the stuff I mentioned earlier. If they lose to the Dolphins this week, then it's time to push the panic button as far as winning the division. Of course, they can still get a wild card, but I'm going to wait a week on that. Pittsburgh Steelers, time to push the panic button or no?
I would say push the panic button because I really want to see how the Le'Veon Bell talk's going to compare out.
By the way, speaking of that, do you think he gets traded?
I believe he will.
You got any idea where you think he might end up? I know the Jets had talked to him about it.
I would say if a trade do go there, I could say the Colts or the Colts could come and play or the Jets.
I hope somebody does because, dude, you're on my fantasy team and you're killing me because you haven't played in 3 weeks. Sorry, go ahead, though. Pittsburgh Steelers, time to push the button?
Yeah, I'll say push the button.
I don't think so yet. I mean, James Connors is not a bad running back.
No.
Still got Antonio Brown, even whatever's going on with all that stuff.
Yeah.
Big Ben's still there. He's still got a good defense. I think they'll be all right. Arizona Cardinals, one of the worst teams, it seems like. Time for them to push it.
They should have been pushed it.
Yeah, smash it.
Yeah, cause new quarterback, new head coach. You know, you gotta get Coach Wilt some kind of slack here. He learned the curve. Josh Allen's a rookie; he's still learning. But at the same time, you got an All-Pro receiver in Larry Fitzgerald. You got a solid defense. Why you can't win games?
I know. I feel bad for Fitzgerald. They're wasting the rest of the end of his career.
Yeah.
Houston Texans. People expected a big year from Deshaun Watson. He's playing okay, but not nearly as well as he was last year. But they're under 500. Time to push the button?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, though. The AFC South isn't that strong. I mean,
No.
Colts aren't very good. The Jags are okay.
But I could see a scenario where Houston could turn it around.
Sure.
And that defense could see J.J. Watt coming from injury, Javion Clowney. And I could see Deshaun Watson probably could come and start surprising a whole lot of people. So
Yeah.
we'll watch and see.
I don't think it's time to push the button there. 2 more, guys. Oakland Raiders. Panic or no?
You better panic because John Gruden really, for the first time in 10 years, you want to come back to the coaching booth and you can't really win a game.
They haven't won a game, I don't think.
No.
Yeah, definitely panic.
Yeah, definitely panic.
Especially because the Chiefs are playing so well. The Broncos seem like they're going to be a good team, and the Chargers, I think, eventually will get it together too. It seems like the Raiders may be on the outside looking in as far as the West.
Yeah.
And then finally, coming off of that, whatever happened with Buffalo, Minnesota Vikings. Time to push the button or no?
No.
Losing to Buffalo, I think they've already pressed that button.
Nah, I think they're good.
No.
They'll be all right. Like you mentioned, they got number 2 defense. Kirk Cousins good.
Yeah.
They got weapons. I think they'll be all right by the time the season is over with. Well, that's going to do it for NFL. We'll try to do that a little bit more, some stuff like that as we move forward throughout the season. We're going to take another commercial break. When we come back, Russell and I are going to talk NASCAR. Of course, another race is in the books, and also look at the Charlotte Roval preview.
Yeah, the
and
unpredictable Roval.
Tiger Woods back in the winner's circle.
Yeah, gotta win.
Going to talk about that as well. Also, speaking of NASCAR, I think Kelsey hooked us up with something. Didn't
Yeah,
she?
so you might notice we have a new piece on the table here. It's the Wallace Drive sign. She's actually provided this to us, and she's got a ton of NASCAR stuff down at her thrift store, Russian Thrift Store on Rockingham Road, across from Brodeur Park. So there's 2 more of these left, so you better hurry and get them while you can. There's also a lot of other NASCAR stuff too.
Yeah, which, by the way, before we go back to break, I didn't realize that was here in Rockingham. For some reason, she moved to. I thought she was moving to Laurinburg, and for some reason, I thought it was in Laurinburg. And then you told me that it was here, and I was like, well, I got to go check that out because I love those stores. So.
Right there by the little shops next to Tractor Supply.
Yeah. So definitely go check that out. But like I said, we're going to mention NASCAR, talk about Tiger Woods, all that more when we come back to the RO Sports Show.
At Kyocera, we see your company differently. We see your documents, how they're accessed, what it takes to keep them secure, and how well your workflow is flowing.
Kyocera helps your entire document infrastructure run more efficiently, securely, and cost-effectively.
And what we see is an opportunity to integrate all of it.
Obviously, just it's really good to have the win. To be able to go into next week. I think anytime you can automatically punch your ticket to the next round, that just makes it even better. Being able to come here in Richmond in the fall. Whoever said I didn't win here in the fall race, I got you. I knew Harvick was kind of closing in on us there at the end. I ran really hard trying to pass Brad, racing with Brad. And being able to finally get by him, and you could see how hard we ran by how fast he dropped, So, our car was really, really good in the long run. I think Harvick maybe, the run before we kind of drove away from everybody. So I just I think it was a factor of me running real hard, pushing real hard that Harvick was able to close in on us there at the end.
We were definitely gaining a little bit of ground, but we didn't have enough time to get all the way to him, but. Our guys did a great job, rebounding after last weekend and doing what we had to do this week to put ourselves in a good position for next week. So solid night.
I don't know. I just don't know what we got to do to win one of these things. I mean, it's it's awful frustrating, to come here and be so good and lead so many laps and then just find, every single way possible that, things don't work out for us. It's pretty frustrating, but, at the same time, it feels good to run that good. And we recovered well and, did what we came here to do, which was move on to the next round. So I wish we would have been in victory lane right now, but, in a few days, I guess the pain will go away a little bit, and we'll be able to go to the Roval and have some fun with no pressure.
And that was NASCAR racers Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, and Martin Truex in the post-race interviews after Richmond.
Yeah.
And first of all, the first thing I noticed was that was kind of typical Kyle Busch arrogance.
Oh, yes, definitely.
If you will. Of course, him winning the race. But just from those three, what did you take away from that, them being the big three, if you will, this year?
The thing with what Truex was saying at the in the middle of it was saying, or actually at the beginning of his interview, was that he pretty much dominated that entire race. He won the first two stages, but he just couldn't pull it off at the end of it. He had some issues, had a penalty on pit road, so that kind of backed him up a lot. But at the end of that race, he was coming back. He ended up finishing third. Harvick, he sounded like he was very disappointed with himself that night. He wanted to run up front where Brad and Kyle Busch were. Brad Keselowski was also running well. It just didn't work out too well for him. But obviously, Harvick, I reckon he must have thought he wasn't in a good position in points. But he's definitely in pretty good sitting right now. And Kyle Busch, of course, like you said, typical for him to be that way. He actually got a lot of cheers at the end of that race this time around. He actually commented saying that he's seen a lot of 18 shirts around the track. So I guess Richmond must be Rowdy Nation.
Yeah, I guess so. So taking a look at the playoffs right now, as we inch closer and closer to the Roval, which will be upcoming this weekend.
This Sunday, 2 o'clock.
That's right. But let me ask you this about Keselowski, because I'm looking here at who's moving forward, and right now Keselowski, Kyle Busch, and Truex have already moved to the next round. Mm-hmm. Would it be safe to include Keselowski in a Big Four now?
Yeah, I've actually seen one that says Quad Squad.
Okay.
So I guess that might be the name for it. But yeah, Brad has The Penske cars have definitely found a lot more speed recently, particularly that 2 team. Also, what's helping them out, they've actually admitted that there's also been a lot of luck and also a lot of good strategy going on pit road. They've been really, really fast with their pit team. So that's going to play a big factor in as well. And just being in the right place at the right time. Some drivers who are really dominant that weekend end up having bad luck, and that helps them out. So I think you can include him into a big 4 type of thing. And I've already felt like that if it wasn't him, it'd be Kyle Larson that would go all the way to the Final Four with Busch, Harvick, and Truex. But right now it's looking more like Keselowski than Larson for me.
Yeah. So I'm looking at those also, kind of recapping Richmond and looking forward. Who kind of screwed the pooch, if you will, at Richmond and is now not going to be moving forward in the playoffs?
Well, everybody still has a chance. That says a lot, though, coming up this Sunday. Denny Hamlin currently sits at the bottom. He is 29 points down below the cut line. I can't see him making that up at Charlotte without winning, as well as Eric Jones. Those two, Eric Jones is 21 points below. They have to make those up. They've got to get high points in the stages, maybe win some stages to earn some bonus points for the stages and ultimately have a really solid day. And like I said, I think you got to win in those two situations. Jimmy Johnson and Clinton Boyer, those guys, they can make up where they are. They're within 10 points of Ryan Blaney and Alex Bowman. So I would say that they could even flip-flop on that.
All right, so the Roval's coming up this weekend. Do you want to take a stab at who's going to fill out the rest of this 12 here?
I think with the bottom 4 like it is right now, Denny Hamlin, Eric Jones won't make it. I do think Ryan Blaney will make it, but I don't think Alex Bowman will. I think he's going to flip-flop down. I think it's going to be, I'm going to say Jimmy Johnson. I think Clinton Boyer would be a solid one, but I think he's going to find some bad luck in this race because he's already had some bad luck during the test sessions.
All right, and then we've been talking about the Roval for quite a while, but obviously today as well. But, I mean, moving forward, this has to be the wild card, if you will, of the playoff settings, right?
People say Talladega is the most unpredictable race. This one tops it this year because it's the first time ever. There's no notes to take. These guys have never raced each other on the track. They've done some testing, but they've never been side by side, and it's so tight going through these turns. The inside of it, the road part of it, where it's like a D-shape, oval type of shape inside of it, it's going to be so difficult to navigate through there. I don't know how they're going to do it. When you and I were on the racetrack, you saying how tight it was already. It's going to be a handful for these drivers, and the little bus stop on the back stretch is going to be interesting to see how they go through that. I'm not sure if they'll try to go too wide through there.
All right. Yeah. Obviously, what was it on our Silver Edition, our 25th episode?
Yeah.
I think a week or two before that, we had gone and driven on the Roval, and it was a great experience. But I can see how these guys are going to have some difficulty because, yeah, you can go on there and you can practice on it. Which, by the way, have any of them been out there to practice?
Yeah, there were some test sessions. I believe prior to when we went out there, they had 2 different sessions, and even then they were still making changes to it. After the second, or in the middle of the second test session they had, they actually made an adjustment to it, and then they said have at it. So they had to relearn that little bit, and it was just as simple as moving a rumble strip over. So things like that, they can definitely play an impact on how they exit and enter that turn. But drivers who have been on it, some of them have actually wrecked on it. This is just test session. I mean, these guys are trying to push to their limits. Some guys have blocked up their brakes and went straight into a wall. Some guys just spin out going at, I think it might be turn 7. I'm not sure which one it is, but it's one of those turns inside the oval, and they spin out and that quite easily. There's not a lot of grip there.
Yeah. And then I guess my last question would be, who are you taking?
Well, earlier this week on Facebook, I said you would have to pick a name out of a hat, and I don't have a hat, but if you open that drawer right underneath you, down at the very bottom drawer, take that mug out.
Honestly, I had no idea this was here.
I told you that I was going to pick a mug.
Yeah, but I forgot about it.
I got the Live at 5 mug here, so I'm going to pick one from here, and this is all the 16 drivers that are in the playoffs. I think those had the best chance out of the 40 drivers that are in this race. So I'm going to pick one, and I'm going to see. Let's go with this one. Kyle Busch, not a bad one.
Are you kidding me?
Go ahead and pick you one.
I think they're all Kyle Busch, aren't they? Who's in last? That'll be who I get.
That would be Denny Hamlin.
And I got, Keselowski.
All right. I think those are two good picks that we've got.
Yeah, I'll tell you that. Just for continuity, I just want to make sure this is on the up and up. All right, there's Eric Jones. That makes me feel better. All right, so you're taking Kyle Busch then?
Yeah, I'm taking Kyle Busch.
And I'm taking Keselowski. So I think we both have a legit shot at getting this, don't we? All right.
And we'll be there for this, too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be loud, but it's going to be fun, and I'm very excited to go check it out.
Too.
This will be actually the first race I've been to since one around here, because otherwise I never really had a reason nor an excuse to go to a NASCAR race. So besides here, this will be my first one outside of Rockingham. So I'm
you're
excited.
in for a treat, because the race in itself at Charlotte, the atmosphere is really awesome being there. They got a fan zone just outside of the front stretch part of the track. And last year they had motocross out there. I think this year they've got bullfighting. So that's going to be a lot of fun to check that out, I'd say.
Bullfighting. You won't see that anywhere else, I don't think, NASCAR race. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And not only is it fun because we're going to a NASCAR race, but obviously there's a lot of ramifications dealing with this race. So it's not only fun, but it's going to be important as we move forward throughout the
and this is an elimination race. So 4 of these drivers at the end of his race are going to say they hate this track.
Yeah, they're going to be going home. So that's going to do it for NASCAR this week. But also in this segment, we wanted to talk about the PGA Tour because Tiger finally won a tournament. So we had to talk about that, right?
Yeah.
So Tiger won the Tour Championship at East Lake Golf Course in Georgia. He shot an 11 under. Now, he actually shot a 1 over in the 4th round on Sunday, which shows you how dominant he was the first 3 days. But, everybody's been talking about this all week, and I'm going to ask you, is Tiger officially back, even though we're at the end of the PGA Tour?
I say so. I think it's just been a recovery process and trying to get back into the swing of things. So I think Tiger is definitely coming back, and he's going to make he might not win. He might win a major. I'll say he wins a major next year. I'm not sure which one. Maybe the Masters. He might be able to get that one. He did pretty well, I say, getting back into it then. I'm interested to see how he does next year, but I think he's got a solid chance to come back and showing these young guys how it's done.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question. If you could a major be in the forecast for next year, I don't know. I think that Tiger has rehabilitated not only his game but his image over the last 3 or 4 years, and obviously this year. When the season started, when we were doing the show, I sat here actually and said, I don't know if Tiger's going to be fully healthy. I don't know if he's going to be able to compete with these younger guys. And then he did very well at the Masters. He did very well at the U.S. Open. And then now he's finally gotten a victory. Now, it's only one.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I don't know. I'm of the thinking that, Tiger won this tournament. He's played this course before. He's probably pretty good at it. But at the same time, I'm going to take a wait-and-see approach and see whether – this time next year, if we'll look back and say, well, Tiger did come back, and this was actually his 80th overall win, which that's a ton,
that's
ton
huge.
of tour victories.
Yeah.
But as far as majors, I forever we all thought he was going to catch Jack Nicklaus very easily on majors, and then he slowed down. He had all that stuff with his personal life and all that, and then he had the injury. So. I don't know that he'll ever catch Nicklaus now. Mm-hmm. But, obviously we're all pulling for Tiger because this is the Tour Championship. It's not a major. It's one of the upper echelon of the other tournaments. But they broke records with viewership and attendance at this because Tiger was there and he was in contention. So obviously...
I'm sure the roars were big for him.
Yeah, for the PGA as a whole, it's obviously integral to have Tiger there and to have Tiger be in contention because when that happens, all your numbers are up and people want to see it. So, and then right after this is going to be the Ryder Cup where America versus Europe. And, we mentioned a couple weeks ago, they did put Tiger and Phil Mickelson on the team. So they're kind of going to be, or they are going to be the veterans around all these young guys. Mm-hmm. But I think right now, if nothing else, Tiger has some momentum going into the Ryder Cup. So you expect victory for the States?
Yeah, I think so. There's definitely a lot of good players in the European area. Rory McIlroy's one of them. I'm sure he's going to be a pretty solid guy out there. But you got Tiger. I'm pretty sure Jordan Spieth's on the team as well. I'm not sure they're all on it, but I'm going to assume he is. There's so many of them. Phil Mickelson. I think U.S. got this one this year.
And they're all good.
Yeah.
Even the quote unquote worst guy on the team could shoot 66 on any given day, and it's like I'd kill for a 66. I'd kill for a 96. So. Just shows you how good those guys are. no matter what course it is. Yeah, so Tiger, is he back as far as winning?
I say
yes, he is. We'll have to wait and see next year during the PGA Tour. And then, of course, we'll get a little preview with the Ryder Cup as to whether, because that's obviously a legit competition. So we'll get a preview as to maybe what we'll see from Tiger in the future moving forward. So, of course, congratulations to Tiger Woods for winning the Tour Championship. And that's going to do it for this segment. When we come back, we're going to finish up the show, not necessarily the same way we always do. We've got the Ross Poll, we've got Love It or Hate It. We've also got a new segment that we're going to debut right after this.
Willow Tree Antiques and Gifts is all about rustic home decor and gifts. You will always find a variety of unique antiques, vintage, and new items in our shop. Come and see our selection of housewarming, new baby, and wedding gifts. For the man in your life, we have many collectibles, Boker knives, and leather. And ladies love the jewelry, purses, candles, hats, and t-shirts. We also offer a 30-day layaway program. Come and experience shopping at Willow Tree Antiques and Gifts.
Welcome back to the RO Sports Show, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. And we just got through talking about the Charlotte Roval picks and talking about playoffs and all that. So we want you, Jeremy, to reach in the cup and take your pick for Sunday.
Okay, I'm going to close my eyes doing this.
I don't think it matters, but okay.
Survey says Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson.
Wow, that's who you wanted too. How about that? All right. So I got Keselowski, you got JJ,
Kyle Busch.
and you got Kyle
Yeah.
Busch. So of course, at this point, anybody could win it. So
Yeah.
all right. Now we've got that all covered. So let's finish the show the same way we always do, a little bit, except we've got a new segment this week that we're calling Hot or Not, and that's presented by HCI Fire and Water Restoration. So if you're paying attention, you can see what we did there. Hot or Not, Fire and Water. That's the last time I'm going to explain that. So let's start with you, Russell. Hot or not? Who you got for your hot team or individual?
Hot is Christopher Bell, the Xfinity Series, currently leading in the playoffs right now. He got a huge win, beat Dale Earnhardt Jr. in a race. He got him back in the car last week and did a phenomenal job, and it's just been on a roll. And I can't even tell you how many wins he's got right now.
All right, and who's not hot?
That would be Kelly Bryant from the Clemson Tigers. Of course, he is no longer going to be the starting quarterback for Clemson, and I believe he's actually going to be transferring. So
Yeah.
That's unfortunate, but I mean, he made that choice. So.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately for him, he's losing his spot, but that writing was on the wall. I mean, we've been talking about Trevor Lawrence taking over for a while now. Who you got, Jeremy? Who's your hot team or player this week?
My hot player is my own, keep pounding for the Carolina Panthers, Christian McCaffrey, who had his first 100-yard game in his career against the Bengals in the Carolina Panthers win. He rushed for 184 yards on 28 carries. Congratulations to him. For not is Ryan Fitzpatrick from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Everybody was into this Fizz magic, but that Fizz magic really wasn't working. His loss to Pittsburgh on Monday night, he threw for 411 yards, but 3 touchdowns, but the picks, not so great with 3 interceptions. One was returned for a touchdown.
All right. For my hot, I got my boys here. The Atlanta Braves going back to the playoffs. The Atlanta Braves won the NL East Division crown for the first time since 2013. They clinched Saturday with a 5-3 win over the Phillies, so they are heading to October baseball. Technically, I'm cheating a little bit, but I've got 2 because our man Scott Emerson and his Oakland A's also clinched a playoff spot this week. So they're also headed to the playoffs, so congratulations to Scott and his guys as well. My not is also baseball related. The Arizona Diamondbacks have gone 2-8 in their last 10. They've lost 3 in a row. They're now 79 and 77 overall in the season. They've pretty much played themselves right out of the playoffs here at the end of the season. They now have a 0% chance of making the playoffs. So they kind of kicked themselves in the butt and lost out. Now, let's move forward to some things that you probably recognize. We got our Ross poll for this week, and we actually went back to the NBA, which has kind of been on the back burner a little bit, but that's getting ready to start back up, believe it or not. And, of course, you can get on the conversation every Monday night, finding the hashtag Ross Paul. You can also find it on the RO Sports Show's Facebook page. So we want to know from you, two-time NBA All-Star Kemba Walker is going to become an unrestricted free agent next July. It means he can go anywhere he wants. But he said on Monday that he wants to stay in Charlotte rather than join a quote-unquote super team. So should Kemba re-sign with the Hornets or should he move on? And so we asked you, and the public said 78% he should stay in Charlotte, 22% saying he should sign elsewhere. What do you think?
This is a scenario where Kemba Walker's already the franchise of the Hornets. He loves it here. Like he said Monday night, he wants to stay in Charlotte, and I think just get him some talent around him where he can compete for a championship.
Absolutely. What about you?
Stay in Charlotte. If he wants to stay here, let him stay. I think that's awesome that he wants to stay here. If he's the biggest name for the Hornets, I would say keep him.
I'm going to take everything you guys said and combine it and agree with it because I've been saying for a while that they needed to go ahead and trade Kemba and start over. That still obviously could happen and may happen this upcoming season depending on how they do. But they also, if he wants to stay there, then re-sign the guy, but put some talent around him. Like you said, give him some guys. I mean, why can't you build? Why can't Michael build a super team in Charlotte? You know, I mean, why isn't that possible?
Because you got the max space to do it. You got plenty of salary cap where you could probably bring in 2 other guys and sign some veteran guys for the veterans minimum. So you got a lot of guys like Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant. Those guys gonna be restricted free agent. Why not go 2 or 3 after him? Jimmy Butler say he wants to leave Minnesota.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no reason why Charlotte couldn't be a super team because who would have thought 8-9 years ago that Golden State would be a super team of all super teams, you know? Who would have thought that the Cleveland Cavaliers, who were perennially terrible a long time ago, and then, of course, LeBron comes there and that completely changed things.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you, like, there's no reason why Charlotte couldn't be one of those great super teams.
One thing I'll say about Kemba is I love that he has loyalty to Charlotte. That's something you should definitely value regardless of how well he's playing.
Yeah, because that's something you obviously don't see a lot anymore in the NBA, like LeBron leaving to go to L.A. Of course, I don't know that there's necessarily a super team there yet. Or KD going to Golden State. You know, you see these guys moving around. Chris Paul going to Houston. So, yeah, it is nice. It's refreshing to see a player of Kemba's caliber say, you know what? I don't want to go to one of these super teams. I want to stay here in Charlotte, and I want to build us into a championship team. And I can respect that. And hopefully they can pull it off. So, another thing, quick. He's only a 2-time NBA All-Star. That's a travesty to me. Shouldn't it be more than that?
I think he should have been in by at least three or four at the most.
Maybe it's just because there's so much talent in the NBA, especially at the guard position.
Well, now since LeBron's gone, and especially the guards, pretty much some of them left the Eastern Conference, go to the West. So that might be open door for Kemba where he could be a starter.
And we've talked about that before, about how the fact that after LeBron signed with the Lakers, we mentioned that everybody in the East was going to move up a level. And that went for teams and for players individually. And I think Kemba's on that ladder. So of course, as I mentioned, Ross Paul, you can find it using the hashtag. You can also find it by going on the RO Sports Show's Facebook page and get in on the conversation. You got no excuse. We had a lot of votes on this one as well. So, all right, guys, let's finish it up with Love It or Hate It. We got plenty to talk about here. Let's start with baseball, though. So the New York Yankees set a major league record this week for most players with 10 home runs. They have like 8 or 9 guys that have at least 10 home runs. Love it or hate it?
Love it.
I'm going to say love it.
I'm going to say love it, I guess. See, I'm an old school guy. Home runs are cool and all, but it's getting out of control. Like, everybody just swings for the fences. You either hit a home run or you strike out. So I'm not really on board with that. Plus, it's the Yankees.
That's my team. Wait a minute, that's my team, man.
Well, you obviously know I'm a Braves fan, and we hate the Yankees. So Conor McGregor's back in the news. He has cashed in on a new 6-fight UFC deal. I don't know what the numbers are, but I imagine he's about to get a bunch of money. And this is after all that stuff that happened where he got arrested. So love it or hate it, him getting this new deal.
Love it.
I'm going to say hate it because of what happened with him back then. And it hasn't really shown that he's got a lot of repercussions. And it also leads me to even more believe that it was kind of, I'm not going to say staged, but I am saying it's staged.
Yep. I'm going to say hate it for exactly what you said. And to me, this reinforces what I said when this happened, that this was all a publicity stunt.
Yeah.
Because he got arrested, yes, but that was part of it. He didn't get, he got in no trouble. He did no jail time. He didn't even lose his passport. He was allowed to travel freely. And now on top of that, he gets another $100 million or whatever he's going to make off of this. So what that tells me is, kids, you can get in a fight, and if you're famous and rich, you won't get in trouble for it.
You're above the law.
Exactly. I mean, that's kind of what it shows you. If anybody else goes into a parking garage, puts a parking barrier through a bus, you go to jail for that, and you stay in jail. But not Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor gets more money. That's why I think it was all just a joke.
Yeah.
Moving forward, the Super Bowl 53 halftime show is going to be headlined by Maroon 5 this year. Love it or hate it?
Who's Maroon 5?
That's all
That'll work. Neither one of y'all know who Maroon 5 is?
I mean, I've heard them, but I don't know anything about them.
No.
Oh my goodness, y'all look up Maroon 5. I love it. I love Maroon 5. They're great. Look, if you play in the Super Bowl halftime show, that's like the upper echelon of musical talent.
What's their genre? Please tell me that at least.
Oh my god, I don't even know what to call them. It's kind of pop-ish, but not really. It's kind of pop rock. I don't even know what you describe Maroon 5 as, but anyway, I kind of regret bringing that one up on the show. That did not go the way I thought it was going to go.
That's a Facebook stat.
Moving on. Let's move on. So Justin Rose tied for 4th at the. We were talking about the Tour Championship earlier in the show. He tied for 4th at the finale. That won him the FedEx Cup. He won $10 million. Let's start with you, Russell. Love or hate it?
I love it. That's a lot of money to win.
Yeah.
A lot of money.
It
10 million? Yeah.
Absolutely. I love it, but here's the kicker. I don't know if I told you guys about this. He made a birdie on the final hole. If he hadn't have made that birdie, you know who would have won the FedEx Cup? Tiger Woods, y'all.
Wow. Yeah, 10 million.
I was like, how did that even happen? How did Tiger only won one tournament? Now, it was this one, but would have won his 3rd FedEx Cup if Justin Rose would have missed that play. Can you imagine?
Wow.
$10 million.
Isn't that crazy to think about?
That would have been
Tiger been $10 million richer.
Well, he doesn't need it, but still. That was obviously a big putt for Justin Rose.
Yeah.
Now, freshman Trevor Lawrence. You mentioned it earlier about him. He was named the Clemson starting quarterback. Love it or hate it?
I'm going to say love it. I mean, I hate it for Kelly Bryant. He's a great quarterback, but he'll go somewhere and he's going to do well for that team wherever he goes to. So Trevor Lawrence is definitely obviously the better quarterback. Start him. I still like a 2-quarterback tango, but if that's going to happen, Trevor Lawrence is obviously the better one.
All right.
I'm going to say love it.
I'm going to say love it too. I've been talking about. I knew Trevor Lawrence was going to take over this job. I knew it was just a matter of time. I said it was going to happen after the A&M game. I was wrong. I was off one game. It happened after the Georgia Tech game. But, yeah, he's going to be the starter now. This kid is a once-in-a-generation talent from what I've seen, read, heard. So I expect him to do well. I think Kelly Bryant will do well in his future endeavors. There's a spot for you in Chapel Hill, Kelly. Moving forward, so only 2 more left. LeBron James is going to star in the new Space Jam remake. Excited, love it or hate it?
I love it because I want to see it when that comes out.
All right.
I'm going to say I love it too.
Absolutely, I love it too. I mean, you're a little bit too young, but for us, Space Jam, I mean, that was the jam. So
yeah, especially Michael Jordan.
when we were coming up.
I vaguely remember as a kid.
Yeah, and look, there's some people that'll say, well, maybe they shouldn't remake it and all that. What? Who cares, man? It's
this is gonna be a fun where Bugs Bunny will tell LeBron, "Hey, what's up, Doc?"
Speaking of crazy animals, BYU's mascot was doing some pregame festivities, jumped on a trampoline, and lost his head. Love it or hate it?
I love that. Was too funny.
Yeah.
I'm going to say love it too. Yeah. I think that's just one of the
for great entertainment.
Yeah. I love it. What I found funny was when as soon as he hit the ground, it was, giving it this number and all these people jumping on top of him. It's like, look, I know that there's this illusion that they're not people inside of these, but everybody above 5 years old knows there's a human being inside of there. Let's not, But at the same time, I didn't realize this, but when it comes to mascots, there's like a fraternity that comes with this, and the biggest number one rule is you can't show your head.
I think in South Carolina, when they graduate, you actually get to wear the shoes of the Gamecock if you were the mascot in your graduation outfit. So there's a little fact for you.
Wow, it might happen at every university.
That's cool, but they were acting like it was a real cougar whose head had fallen off. And they're all running over. Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
But that was funny. So we always like to get some funny ones in there, and that's going to do it, folks, for this edition of the RO Sports Show. We appreciate everybody watching and listening. Of course, we wish good luck to the Richmond Raiders tomorrow night, heading up to Pinecrest. Again, at the top of the show, we all predicted that they'll get victory over the Patriots.
Go Raiders.
Go Raiders, absolutely.
Go Raiders.
Besides that, of course, you can watch us so many ways. Listen to us on The Classic Rock. You can find that app on your iPhone, Android, as well as the RO app. So many ways to watch and listen, of course. It's all free. So for Russell Parker, Jeremy McKenzie, I'm Matt Harrelson. We'll see you right back here next week, 5:30 on Thursdays. Have a great week.